Gaming news today is all about the number 2, not like Sesame Street when it's about the number 2, like literally the number 2 as in sequels or the second thing. We've got Path of Exile 2, we've got the Nintendo Switch 2, Elden Ring 2, and a potential GTA 6 trailer number 2. So that was literally everything in my news feed yesterday, and I thought, all right, well, we'll make that the theme of the show. We've got a lot of things to break down and discuss today. And if you like this kind of content, make sure you hit subscribe and the bell button. If you're watching this later, you want to be here for those live shows, especially if you're a member. We've now added some new member features to the live show, as well as new content every Friday afternoon, if especially you're looking for fun gameplay. So consider supporting the channel directly in that way. And as a reminder, we do have the Frickmas Roast back, reforgeroast.com, if you're a coffee drinker. So let's just jump in to the first story, the thing that caught my attention first. And this thing has caught my attention before, but Path of Exile 2, it is topping the charts, and they are preparing for very, very big numbers. The first thing to notice here is that Path of Exile 2 is topping the seller charts on Steam already, according to PCGamesN.com, and you can check this yourself to see where it's currently sitting. But at the time they took their screenshot, it was sitting over top Counter-Strike 2, Baldur's Gate 3, Cyberpunk. It even took Black Ops 6 down from the number 1 spot, like the Steam Deck was at the top. But right beneath it was Black Ops 6, which has now been bumped down by Path of Exile 2, which is absolutely insane. Now, there is another game coming this week, so just by way of comparison, PC Games N noted that Indiana Jones is in 59th place. So Path of Exile 2 looking to just absolutely overshadow everything this Friday, and this thing is taking the world by storm. And I actually have a video on this channel where I predicted that Path of Exile 2 was going to set its sights on being a Diablo 4 killer. They seemed to be taking advantage of the fact that, Diablo 4 wasn't doing so well in its launch year, and they sort of, took to the field and marketed and talked about things which felt very, very early. I didn't have in my wildest imagination that this game would be leading so strongly on the cusp of it going into early access. And apparently they are preparing for very big numbers. They did an interview and they were asked about, are you going to be prepared for, let's just say 1 million players? And Jonathan Rogers, the one who was fielding the questions, he was the one doing the interview. You've probably seen him in a lot of videos recently. He said that they were prepared for 1 million as far as instance capacity goes. He said that they are also prepared to increase that. They're discussing things with various cloud vendors, and they do hope that the 1 million instances will be enough. Now, that's a pretty big number, and I actually think they could probably hit it. New World, if you remember New World, the MMO, it hit 913,000 concurrents on Steam alone. And it was in a similar position with respect to popularity and attention. There were big content creators talking about it. There were YouTube videos everywhere, and the anticipation was mounting. Well, Path of Exile 2 is in a very similar spot. So it is set to potentially hit and break some records. I'm going to attempt to dive in Friday. Now, I'm going to approach it in a much more, casual way and see if, for the casual dad gamers out there or the very, very busy people that can't dedicate tons of time to looking up build guides or creating spreadsheets. The first game, Path of Exile, is sort of notorious for not being all that accessible or approachable to the average player. And so I'm going to approach it in that way, and that might benefit you. You can sort of see my experience and see, is this something that I can take a crack at? Is it something that I can play? Make sure you're here on Friday for that. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel for all of the various things that we do. I'm already seeing people renewing memberships and gifting memberships during the show open. Thank you for that. I'll get to you guys in just a moment. Now, in the realm of other things with the number 2, Switch 2. The Nintendo Switch 2 is highly anticipated. Many people expecting this thing to launch, in the first half of 2025, and we have new information about that. With the news heating up, Eurogamer linked to an article. There are Switch 2 cases and screen protectors that are already for sale on China's wholesale platform Alibaba. Now, there are plenty of screenshots circulating. I'm not going to show those to you. I don't mess around with Nintendo. If I feel like something is not to be seen just yet or a leak. I don't show it because I don't really feel like dealing with takedowns and other things that might happen, but they looked legitimate to me. The interesting thing that stuck out to me, though, was that one screenshot had the case listed as a Switch 2 case. Now, that could have just been a placeholder from that company, or the accessory companies may already be in the know about the name of the next device. It didn't just say, you know, next Switch or Switch sequel or something like that, like a placeholder. It literally said Switch 2 in English and in, I believe it was in Chinese. So to me, I think that could mean that we now know that the name is Switch 2. Now, we also have predictions and claims being made about the release window as well as the price, okay? Reactor.com is claiming that they've gathered info from various sources, and they are claiming that the Nintendo Switch 2 will land around June of 2025, maybe July. It's going to be between $400 and $500. Now, they claim this comes from various developers that also lines up with other leaks and things that they have seen. We know, according to Nintendo's own earnings calls, that the next Switch will not land before April of 2025. So a summer release isn't out of the question. I kept thinking they would probably release it in May, and then when the June time heats up for all of the press and Summer Game Fest and all of the showcases, they'd be able to, go out and start marketing the games. But June would line up as well. They could have a great big Nintendo Direct and talk about it. I'm assuming they're going to announce it in the earlier part of the year and let people, potentially start pre-ordering it. So it's looking like we're going to have Nintendo Switch 2 early summer, maybe June of next year, according to these reports, and it's going to be around $400 or $500. So here's hoping. Now, when it comes to Elden Ring 2, there are people that just assume this is a reality, that this is going to happen. The first game was so successful, why wouldn't you do a second one, right? There's a lot of people, I think, that just assume they would do a second one. Well, in case you missed it, Miyazaki did an interview where Elden Ring 2 was actually mentioned by name, and he said that Elden Ring 2 is not currently being developed, and they're also not currently considering it. They're not ruling out the IP being developed further in the future. That could obviously mean any number of things. That could be DLC, spin-offs, and the like. Personally, I think Elden Ring is a standalone title with this incredible and highly successful DLC that they just released. I think it's just in a good place to be left alone. I think there's always obviously the potential for spin-offs or different things, in the lands between. But I don't necessarily know if you would want to come out and call it Elden Ring 2. I think it would make more sense to leave it as is. I actually don't think you will ever see a game with that title of Elden Ring 2 the way they did Dark Souls 1, 2, and 3. Now, that's just a hunch. That's just a gut feeling. But I feel like this thing, in so many respects, is a masterpiece, and the DLC is a nice, capstone to the game. I feel like they're going to leave it as is, move on to other things. I don't know if you're ever going to get like a Dark Souls 4 or if they're just going to start moving on to other IP. I think people think similarly about Sekiro. Like, I would love a Sekiro 2, but I think people think similarly about Sekiro. Like, just leave it as its own standalone game and don't ever do a sequel. As much as I would love a sequel to Sekiro 2, I think I probably agree with that. So that is what we have heard about Elden Ring 2. And keeping with the theme of number 2, we've got a pretty good theory about the GTA 6 trailer number 2, and it's looking like it might show up tomorrow on December the 5th. Now, I've not done a lot of speculating about this, but I did find a theory on Twitter from Legacy Killa HD, and I actually thought this was a pretty solid theory, all right? Rocksteady has been pretty busy, and they were busy on Twitter yesterday. They announced various things. They even have a sale on their merchandise that runs from December the 3rd to January the 7th. And this is what Legacy Killa tweeted. He said, "Pretty busy day with posting from Rockstar Games. Almost seems like they are getting everything out of the way before Thursday, the 1-year anniversary of GTA 6's first trailer. December the 5th has been my prediction for weeks for a GTA 6 trailer too, and I'm holding on to it." And I just think this tracks, right? We know that Rockstar likes to do things on their own. We know they don't typically have things like this showing up at various places, like a showcase or an event like the Game Awards, right? This would be 1 week before the Game Awards, and I think that would likely take the world by storm one more time. The gaming world would light itself on fire and get, really excited. And I actually think this is a pretty good theory. So keep your eyes open. We could be looking at a GTA 6 trailer tomorrow, and that would be the 1 year. That would basically have them be 1 year apart. Now I have games for your wish list and your radar, and the first game is called Entropy Survivors, and it actually releases today, December the 4th. It releases on Xbox Series XS, PlayStation 5, and Steam, and this is how they describe the game. Entropy Survivors is a bullet hell roguelike where you simultaneously control a powerful mech and a sharp-shooting space frog, featuring outrageously creative abilities and powerful weapon customization. Save the universe in single-player or 2 to 4 player online co-op. Now, it has a demo on Steam if you want to try before you buy. I will say this, though. Sometimes those demos disappear when the game officially releases. So you might go to check this out on Steam and the demo could be gone. Because, again, it does release today. You could go over there quickly now and do that. I don't know if it's out yet. Usually there's a noon release time with games like this, but it might be available right now. So again, this is called Entropy Survivors. I think it looks great. I think it looks fun. I think it looks quirky, and might even check this out with my wife because we've been looking for a good, co-op rogue to play. We enjoyed Gunfire Reborn, and we were trying the Happy Tree Friends game, but it just doesn't have good functionality as a twin stick shooter, so we kind of fell off with it. And the next game to put on your wish list or your radar is Bionic Bay. This releases next year on PlayStation 5 and Steam. It is a platformer, and it actually has some very interesting mechanics. There is a thing they call the SWAT mechanic. There's also very realistic physics. It has a realistic physics system within it as you're sort of navigating all these various areas. And there you saw the SWAT mechanic as he's sort of moving himself as well as objects around to survive the various challenges and the various things trying to kill you. And they also say that this game is basically platforming built for speed running. So definitely make sure and wishlist this now. It is targeting a release next year. No release date yet, but it will be hitting both PS5 and Steam, and it is called Bionic Bay. And I got one last one here for you, and this was already on my list, and then somebody put it in the Discord last night, I believe it was Sven, and said, hey, you and your wife might like this one. This one is called Big Helmet Heroes. You can play this solo or 2-player couch co-op. It's a beat-em-up game. It's coming to Steam, Epic Game Store, PS5, Xbox Series X and S, as well as the Nintendo Switch. It's targeting a 2024 release date, but I don't think that's going to happen. We're in December, and I've not seen a release date anywhere for this, so it's probably going to slip into next year. It currently has a demo on Steam, so you can certainly try it out there if you would like, and you can wishlist or try it out. To me, it looks like a little bit more of a involved, maybe a little bit more combat-focused Castle Crashers, with obviously like little sequences and mini games like we just saw. But I also feel like it is focused a little bit more on the combat with various combos and your ability to kind of move around and use various abilities. So those are the games for your wish list and your radar. So as I said, the theme of today is the number 2, Path of Exile 2, the Nintendo Switch 2, Elden Ring 2, and again, potentially tomorrow, a GTA 6 trailer, number 2. And I gave you some more games for your wish list and your radar. So that's the news, and now it's time for the discussion. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I think YouTube might be having some trouble. Nothing looks correct on my end, so hopefully you guys are not experiencing any problems. Be sure that you guys smash that like button. We're off to a very different start today. Morning coffee ran fine, but scheduling this stream, I had some issues, and then I had to swap my camera. We were having some issues with my other camera as well. But hopefully you guys are not experiencing any of those problems. And Soldier on Music upgrades to Member Plus. And hang on one second. I am going to have to... There we go. I switched cameras, so I was like, where's my member goal? There we go. There's the daily goal. And upgrades to Member Plus count as 2. So that's going to bump the line to 210. And I now give 5 every 50. We had to slow that down just a teeny bit, and we are doing more member incentives for you. There's a whole thing on Friday where Hilly and I will start playing games in the afternoon, and you can play with us. You can force us to play Marvel Rivals this Friday, and then join us if you hit the goal. And then Friday night will be a stretch goal, but you can still get a talk show with me and my wife on Friday night if you guys still enjoy that. And then Joker Quinn, he gifts a member. And Lorcan Adrian with 9 months says, horrible adverts at the start. What do you mean horrible adverts? Did you get a bunch of ads? I don't run ads during the stream. I'm not sure what you're referring to. Let me add those two to the total. Unless you're talking about like the 20 seconds I said something about joining and buying coffee. Like that was maybe 20 seconds. You forgot about XDefiant? Yeah, you know, YouTube's tweaking right now, preparing for the GTA trailer. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, we're totally free to talk about the XDefiant thing. I didn't want to add that to the monologue because I'm trying to keep those opening monologues a little on the shorter side. But yeah, XDefiant. Literally, we talked about this just yesterday, and I said that I think PvP live service games are just a fool's errand. I just don't see it. I think it's very, very difficult. And I kept talking about how you're really going to struggle to maintain player bases. And I mentioned XDefiant and the finals. And I said, I know both of those games are struggling to maintain player bases. And then XDefiant announces that they're not just shutting down the game, next year? I forget the exact date that they said. But then they're also shutting the studio down. And 3 gifteds come in from Stone Spire. He's hoping to trigger and get somebody to do the 10 bomb, the 225. Adverts for wine and one for dog food at the start. Oh, you got a pre-roll ad. Okay, yeah, I don't run ads during the stream, and I can tell something's wrong. Like the viewership is not right. YouTube must be having issues this morning. Because nothing's right on the back end. So if you guys are having to refresh, I apologize. It's not on my end. I have a perfectly solid bit rate. I'm not having any issues with my connection to YouTube, but I can tell some of you guys are having to refresh, so I apologize. Finals is doing better than the First Ascendant. But again, I think the biggest difference is comparing it to the First Ascendant doesn't really matter because they're completely different game types. A game like the finals doesn't work if you hit a certain threshold of players because you just can't get into games. I think PvP games are incredibly difficult to maintain a player base because you literally need people or it doesn't work. If less people stop, if people stop playing the First Ascendant, we've seen the numbers for the First Ascendant drop. That doesn't really matter. As long as your buddies are still playing, or as long as you've got, people in your region still playing, you don't need them in order to play. You can go and run content and run events, and then it'll obviously put people in your game. But if it takes a little bit longer, or if they're out of your region, or if it can't find anybody, it doesn't stop you from playing. You quite literally can't play a PvP game if it doesn't have people to put into your game. It doesn't work. Stream's working fine for you. Oh, what's good, Derek? Good to see you. Are you playing PoE 2 on the Pro? I'll play it on the Pro, yeah, because I wanna do couch co-op, and I don't like using the computer in the living room unless I absolutely have to. Like I was using it for Deep Rock Galactic Survivor, but that's only because I have to. That's the only way to play that game, is it's only on PC right now. I would love for Deep Rock Galactic Survivor to come to console. I would love for Deep Rock Galactic Survivor to launch co-op. That would be amazing. So, let's see here. Yeah, the email went out. The notifications went out. I can tell that some of you guys are having some issues. Let me get the... Let's get the coffee in the frame. If you guys didn't realize it, we sent an email, but we didn't really publish this or promote this too heavily on the channel. But the Reforge Roast, Frickmas is back. Frickmas is back. So go to reforgeroast.com, or you can use the link below in the description. And you can snag yourself some Frickmas. It's one of our most popular of the 3 flavors. It is, I believe, the most popular. I think it outpaces the dark and the light roast typically. Yo, it's good, Roadkill. 9 times out of 10, when I play the first Descendant, most of the icons I see beside usernames are PlayStation. Steam charts is not the whole story for that game. I'd wager PlayStation is its larger player base. Yeah, and again, I don't think the first Descendant is comparable to a PvP game. The experience that you're having in the first Descendant, when there were tons of people playing and when there's less people playing, it's largely unchanged. But when you're playing a PvP game at its height and at its apex, you're getting into games quickly, you're getting games in your region, you're not going to deal with a whole lot of lag. But when the player base starts to go down, it's going to take longer to get a match. You might get region mismatched. Now you're going to have lag. Like, there's all those things that can happen. And it's like, that means you are so much more dependent upon the player funnel in a PvP game, which is exactly why I think it's a fool's errand. I think XDefiant is just one more game in a long list of games that we're going to see that are going to come out. They're going to try to capture a player base that's already very much engaged in Fortnite and Apex and Warzone and PUBG and Valorant and CSGO. They're already playing all those games. And if you're like, oh, but this game's different, it doesn't matter. That's still your target audience. I wasn't the target audience for XDefiant or the finals. I'm not the target audience for Marathon or Fair Games. These games, I think Splitgate 2 is going to run into very, very similar problems. I think it'll be exciting for a week or two, and then the player base numbers will start to drop, and then you're done. There's no turning back that tide once it starts to recede. It's like, that's it. They all go back to their other games. Yo, good morning, Trekkie. How are you? Played it for a few days. It was okay, but nothing special. I think all these games are going to suffer the same fate. I think they're all going to go through the same cycle of, you get a bunch of content creators excited because it's new, it's fresh, it's got the new car smell. You don't have all these annoyances and things that, can frustrate you. And then a month later, your player base number is a fourth of what it was, what once was, and everybody just starts to drift because then all of the quality goes down after that, all of it. So those games are the only FPS games that will ever exist going forward. Well, first, I didn't say that. Second, Fortnite's not FPS, it's third person, so it has nothing to do with being first person. If you are trying to ship a PvP live service game right now, I think your chances of survival are slim. That's not me saying that, yeah, that's it. For the rest of time, we're only going to have Fortnite, Apex, Warzone, PUBG, Valorant, and CSGO. And then Marvel Rivals is right around the corner. Another game that's going to try to soak up part of the PvP player pool, right? I'm not saying those will be the only games. I'm saying right now, in the current time that we exist in 2024, for the next, I would not surprise me at all if for the next 2 to 3 years, every time a game like Fair Games comes out, or Marathon, or Splitgate 2, I think all these games are going to go through the exact same cycle. 2 to 4 weeks of decent numbers or good numbers. Usually your best numbers are that first week or two because everybody's interested. And then everything just drops after that because players just lose interest. They do. They just lose interest. Rivals can tap into recognizable IP. They can slam out new characters on a regular basis. They can make updates to the characters. They can make changes to the abilities. And that'll get people to come back. If all of a sudden they're like, oh, we've got, this version of Doctor Strange is coming to the game instead of the one that you've been playing, or, oh, War Machine's coming to the game. They can do things like that to always kind of stoke the fires of the player base and get people to come back. But I don't think you can do that with just a regular old PvP game that doesn't have recognizable IP. XDefiant took on Call of Duty and it lost. And, Splitgate 2 is going to try to soak up the arena shooter fans that don't have a Halo and don't have a lot of other games. But generally speaking, I think they're going to go through the exact same problem. I don't know how you get people, I don't know how you maintain people's interest in a PvP shooter. I'm sorry, in a PvP live service game. I just don't know how you maintain anybody's interest. The biggest hurdle for Rivals is going to be the balancing. I've already seen some terrible abilities that people are going to hate. Oh, for sure. For sure. That's always going to be the debate in games like that, is that, you know, this person's OP, or, you know, this ability is broken or busted or whatever. For sure. That's always going to be a potential problem. Always. They can make money selling the skins. Yeah, I think they're going to make a ton of money selling the skins, but I also think, you know, in a very general sense, I think you're going to see more people funnel to a game like that simply because it's recognizable. Do you think an old Sony shooter like Killzone or SOCOM could survive? No, I don't. I think people completely overestimate how popular and how good and how many people would care about a Killzone or a SOCOM. Now, if SOCOM came out and could strike a chord in the vein of like what Helldivers 2 has done, and you could create a really fun, maybe like squad-based, mission-based PvE thing, maybe. But like PvP, I'm here to tell you, you're competing with free-to-play Leviathans that are just extremely easy to pick up and play, so you've got to make yours free. You do. You have to make them free, and I think that's hurdle number one, is you cannot charge for the game, so you've got to make it free, which is incredibly risky, right? We know that Marathon, and I'm fairly certain that Fair Games, they're going to follow the same pattern of charging money for their game. Okay, well, you just shot the racehorse in the leg. As soon as you do that, you've already hobbled the attempt. Everybody disagreed with me on this when I talked about this with Concord, and Concord failed for about 10 other reasons, but it certainly doesn't help when everything else is free, and I've got to gamble with $40 to see whether or not, hopefully your game is good. So from moment one, you're hobbling the horse. It's like you're not going to get enough players in the player funnel. You aren't. You just aren't. These are facts. This isn't my opinion. If you charge money for your PvP live service game, you will not get enough players in the player funnel. You won't. You're basically setting the game up to fail. The landscape has shifted. The hive mind and the culture has completely shifted. And if you refuse to adapt to it, you'll die like everything else that refuses to adapt. This is just the law of nature. If you don't adapt, you die. And if you try to come out with your live service PvP game and you're like, oh, it's $40. Yeah, good freaking luck. You'll be dead almost as fast as Concord was dead. You won't have anybody in the funnel. You won't have anybody in the funnel. Nobody cared about Killzone until they wanted to complain about what games PlayStation was making. They're going to put XDefiant modes on Rainbow Six Siege. Darktide looks amazing on the PS5 Pro. Are they using PSSR? I don't know if that's a PlayStation 5 enhanced game. I feel like it is. Darktide PlayStation Store. Is it available yet, or did you watch a video? Warhammer Darktide. It is PS5 Pro enhanced. It currently has an 88% on PlayStation. So that's a pretty good score. So I've not gotten to check it out. I don't think I will. I've played it before. I thought it was fine. Guys, take a quick second. Take a quick second and smash the like button. Let's try to get 200 likes. It looks like we're starting to kind of turn the corner here. YouTube was acting really, really bad the first like 20 minutes of the stream, but it seems like it's fixing itself. Do you think live service have to be free because so many of them suck? Consumer confidence is at an all-time low when it comes to live service. Well, Mike, I think you're both correct, but I also think you're being too narrow. I think there's multiple reasons why. I think what you're saying is probably one of the reasons why. But if you want, my opinion is the biggest reason you've got to make your live service game free to play is because you're competing for attention, and free is just incredibly easy. There's no barrier. There's no barrier. It's just like, yeah, I'll try that out. I'll try that out. I'll try that out. Like with Fortnite, with Warzone, with Apex, like there's no barrier. It's just like, oh yeah, I'll just install it and see if it's any good. And what Wheezy is saying as well is the other side of the coin. Like, I do think you're right in one sense, Mike. I think people are averse to live service games because there have been so many bad ones or ones that flopped and failed. So no one's going to gamble with their $40. But Wheezy's making a good point. Fortnite and Apex and Warzone, these games rose to the top because they're good, they're fun. They've captured the attention of large player bases. So you're competing with free fun. Like, imagine, we went to Dave & Buster's when we were up in Ohio with the kiddos, and we had a lot of fun. They had a claw game where you could grab tickets, and I, for whatever reason, got really good at it, and I was grabbing, like, bunches of them. So the kiddos got some cool stuffed animals. It was fun. I told them, I was like, you can either play video games or you can go for tickets. If you try to do both, it's not going to work. You got to pick one. And they were like, let's get tickets. I was like, okay. So I want you to imagine that there is a Dave & Buster's, and when you go in, everything's free. Everything's free. Every game is free. We played the Halo game. It was really, really fun. We had 4 people. We were playing the Halo game. Me and my boy and my daughter and one of my nephews. And if everything was free, you wouldn't be able to get in the building. There'd be a line to get in the building. They'd have to limit how many people were even in the dadgum place. Now, if you set up shop right next to them with a very, very similar business model of we've got food, we've got a bar, and we've got arcade games, and you charge money, you wouldn't get anybody. You wouldn't. How do you compete with free? They'd have people lined up around the block, and you'd be like, well, you can come in here. And they're like, well, is it free? And then you'd be like, no, it costs for every game. They'd be like, yeah, I'll just wait in line then. Now, the analogy breaks down a little bit because you don't have to wait in line to play Fortnite. The point being, if you're trying to compete when that's the business model of come and play our game and it's totally free and it's fun and a lot of your friends are playing it, well, there you go. Indiana Jones has DRM de novo? Oh, gosh. Well, good luck playing that on PC. So, I think you're correct, Mike. I think there are people that are going to look at it both the way that Wheezy said, but also the way that you said. I think people look at it both ways. They're like, there have been a lot of crappy live service games. I'm not spending money on one. I'm not. I think you're right. I think some people say that. I think people also say, these ones are free and they're really fun. So what in the world? Why am I going to spend $40 on Marathon or Fair Games? Why? Now, you really, I think, can see that this gets compounded by the fact that there are free live service games that fail. Right? XDefiant was free, was it not? It didn't cost money. What could you spend money on in XDefiant? I never played it. Is XDefiant free to play? It's free to play, isn't it? Yeah, it was a free to play first person shooter. Okay, so that compounds the problem. That really compounds the problem. They came into the market. They did what the market asks for. They made it free to play. And for all intents and purposes, from what I heard, it was a pretty good game. It was a pretty good game. People liked it. And it still is shutting down. So if you guys are just tuning in, take a quick second and smash the like button as you come in. Kind of go through that ritual. Let's try to get 200 likes on the video. Welcome on in. There's a lot to talk about. We might get a GTA 6 trailer number 2 tomorrow. So a Grand Theft Auto 6 trailer might show up tomorrow. We talked about that in the show open. We talked about Path of Exile 2 topping the sales charts. They're prepared for 1 million players on Friday, which is insane. They're gonna have more concurrence. Well, they're gonna be multi-platform. New World had almost 1 million concurrents just on Steam alone, which was insane. So we talked about that. We've also talked about the Nintendo Switch 2. We basically have confirmation that might even be its name because of the some of the screen protectors and cases that are being already sold on Alibaba. And right now we're talking about kind of the breaking news that hit last night, kind of in the evening, that XDefiant is shutting down and the studio is also being closed down. Tom Henderson from Insider Gaming weighed in on this, and he said, sorry to get emotional here, but to see good, hardworking people lose their jobs when it could have been avoided is effing diabolical. Just so you all know, he's lied to you every step of the way, and F Ubisoft management for not listening. Ubisoft San Fran and Osaka will be shut down. Around 170 to 180 people will be laid off. Those not affected will move to other Ubisoft projects. So close to 200 people are getting laid off. And the interesting thing is that, Tommy Hendy is saying that, this guy's lied to you every step of the way, because they said XDefiant wasn't closing down. Like, there was literally a rumor that it was shutting down, and it got community noted on Twitter. And I remember, because I was quick to say that day, I was like, yeah, I told y'all that this is what's going to happen to these games. They're not going to be able to maintain player bases. They're just not. The reason XDefiant failed, I'm sure, is that no one was spending money on it. What is this? Sesame Street? That's right. Today is brought to you by the number 2. I mean, scot-free. That's the entire other element of this. I've just been talking about the player funnel and getting people to come back. And the element of, if the player funnel dwindles to a breaking point, then your game is dead. If you drop to a certain point, your game just dies because people that want to play can't. The minute that happens, it's over. You have slipped off of the cliff. Now, you could fall slowly or quickly, but it's over. Done. The minute you have people that want to play, but they can't because too many people have quit, there you go. Over. And what you're saying, scot-free, is an entire other compounding problem. If you can't get enough people to play, you're not going to make any money. And I think the finals has a shot to stick around for a while, but I think when you've got a company the size of Ubisoft, I think the budget's too big. The talent working on it's too expensive. It has to make way more money than it probably was. You could have closed it down months ago, sure, but the staff would have still been let go. Tom saying it could have been avoided is just emotional speech with no context. I mean, saying that you could have avoided it and not had people laid off, you could have basically saved all that money that they spent trying to keep it going. And in saving that money, you might have had more time to shift them to other projects. Pushing it all the way to the breaking point and then letting people go and canceling the game is obviously, I think, what he's talking about. He's like, well, you didn't have to do this. Bethesda sneakily adds de novo to Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. I don't know why. No, Tom was reporting on XDefiant. Yeah, I know. And Mark, whoever, was gaslighting their community. Yeah, I think that's what he was commentating on, is like, this could have been avoided. You guys could have taken a very different plan. I think Tom is pretty honest in his feelings. You don't think so? I mean, to act like this was completely unavoidable, I think is a very narrow position. To be like, yeah, this was completely unavoidable. This was the only outcome. They couldn't have chosen another path. They couldn't have chosen a path that would have retained more employees. I think that's a very narrow position that's not really tenable. To act like this was the only possible outcome of this situation, no way. They could have handled it differently. They could have. I think they could have handled it differently. They could have retained people. Or retained more people. Lone Wolf says, I've just lost interest in almost all live service games in general. He says this in the members-only Discord. So I'm instantly turned off. unless it's from an established IP like Marvel Rivals or whatever, but my interest will eventually decrease anyways because I get tired of it quicker than I used to. To me, it's not even that I get tired of it. I just don't want to do it anymore. It's a Captain Hindsight situation at that point. No, it's not. You can do basic business analysis and you can say, hey, you guys had to have seen this coming. You had to have seen what the forecast was and how your game was trending, and you could have made different plans. You could have saved an awful lot of money by just admitting this months ago and being like, we need to figure out what to do with all these people. Instead, you deny that that there's a problem or that it's shutting down, and then all of a sudden you just shut it down anyway. It's like that's more of a business analysis thing. I'm not doing like Monday morning quarterback or like after the car gets wrecked. It's like, well, if you would have turned earlier. No, I'm saying they clearly knew. They had to have known this was coming. Anyone hear about Croc Legend? The guy was getting a remaster for PS5. I've not heard about that, Stephanie. No, I have not. They could have canceled the game completely when it was downvoted in hell on YouTube when they released the trailer. Right. What I'm saying is when they saw that the player numbers were trending the way that they were trending, they could have made a different plan. They could have made a different plan and retained more players. It could have been avoided. I'm not saying that you could have avoided the game shutting down, or there probably still would have been people laid off. I don't think when a project of that size and magnitude fails, you can kind of avoid layoffs completely. But it does feel like it was mishandled. I want to go back up to a comment here about Elden Ring 2. It was earlier in the stream. Lone Wolf says, disagree on not getting an Elden Ring 2. I think they will do it down the line, maybe in 10 years or so. I have no basis for that, but I have just a feeling in my gut. Yeah, I have the exact opposite feeling. Yo, what's good, Feed? I see you in the chat. Guys, do a quick check. Make sure it saved your like, your thumbs up, and then hit the $sign at the bottom of the chat. Hit that dollar button. See if you have a membership renewal to celebrate. Help us move this goal along. That is for a Friday community game incentive. Hilly and I are going to be playing a game this Friday, and you can join us and make us play something else as well. I already knew about that game. I told you guys about that one, Thermaturge. I think that one was in one of my show opens recently. Yeah, October the 15th, Mark Rubin said, to be crystal clear, there are no plans to shut down after Season 4. I've literally been in meetings as of last week to discuss our Year 2 plans. But right now, we are super focused on improving the technical experience, which includes netcode. Exclusive XDefiant is on borrowed time as player numbers decline. That was in August. Yeah, Tom Henderson reported that XDefiant was on borrowed time as the numbers decline. And Wheezy says they kept gaslighting, saying everything was fine, and they were planning for years ahead or whatever, and the director came out with all this baloney. I don't care. I'm with Tom here. It was a sunk cost fallacy, says Paul. They just had way too much time and money invested, and the devs likely knew if this doesn't work, we're done for. Are you concerned about indie on the Series S, says FCat. I mean, if you look at the recommended specs and the min specs for PC, I don't know. That seems like it's going to be a pretty beefy game. I think they did a lot with like lighting and environmental details to like really set the tone, which I think they've done an excellent job of. I think that's probably the best thing I've seen from the Indiana Jones gameplay trailers and footage, is that it actually looks like an Indiana Jones movie. I think the gameplay leaves a lot to be desired for. I don't think it's going to score all that well with review outlets. I don't think it's going to score all that well with users either. I think people are going to get bored. I really and truly do. I think people that love Indiana and get immersed into like just the feel and vibe, I think they're probably going to like it. But I think for the most part, the average gamer is going to say, this is a frickin' snooze fest. It just doesn't look like a very good game. I think they made a lot of creative choices, and I think they made a lot of gameplay choices that it just looks bad. It looks very boring. Why I'm buying it on the PS5 Pro? I mean, yeah, if you're looking to get it, then that's the place to get it. So is that a new feature, Fuzzy? They gave you like a drag bar for speed. Usually it's somewhere else. Brendan, we get a speed slider. Yeah, that's cool. Where is that? Is that obviously you can't do that in a live stream unless you rewind. I don't think I've seen that on YouTube. Do you guys, if you guys are watching on mobile, how did you get to the speed slider? Yeah, I can't switch off of Top Chat again. Let me see if there's an update for the app. I might need an update. You will like it in a few months. No, I will not. No, I won't. Just because a game comes to PlayStation doesn't mean I'm going to suddenly change my opinion about it. Did I suddenly become a huge fan of Grounded? Did I suddenly become a huge fan of Sea of Thieves? I've always sung that game's praises. I've always said it's got such a great environment and sailing is one of the greatest experiences of that game. But I've also said that I've always wanted it to be PvE. I didn't change my tune about any games. The only game that I played and was surprised that I liked it was Hi-Fi Rush. But that was only because my daughter was playing Hi-Fi Rush, and every time I tried to help her, I didn't enjoy it because I hadn't been playing and I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't finish Hi-Fi Rush. I kind of fell out with it, again, because it's just not my cup of tea. I was enjoying it more than I thought, but like, I've never changed my tune on a game just because it came over the PlayStation. That's ridiculous. Like, and I don't know what you like. Yeah, well, I mean, come on. Don't besmirch Grounded. I just didn't like Grounded. I played it with Hilly and we had fun, but then we got kind of frustrated with it. It was just like, it has this adorable charm to it, but then it's pretty punishing game. It's pretty punishing, dude. We died a lot, you know, and we had been drinking, so that never helps. But yeah. That was the implication. I missed it. Yeah. The implication was, oh, you'll like Indiana Jones once it's on PlayStation, Pony. And it's like, no, that's not true at all. I thought from the very beginning that Indiana Jones looked boring. I'm not going to change my tune. Now, if you're interested in the game and you want to play it, yeah, I'm pretty sure it's going to, you know, it'll probably run the best and run, you know, and look the best on the Pro. We know this. Like, that's not... yeah, I can't change off of live chat. I just, that feature is just still gone. That is so weird. And then if I try to change the playback speed, yeah, I have the drag bar now on the playback speed. Yeah, and you can't increase it on a live stream again unless you rewind. You know that's coming. I mean, people can say that and they can lie and misrepresent me. I'm not going to buy Indiana Jones on my PlayStation. I'm not. No. I'll probably play it for an hour on Game Pass and never go back to it. It doesn't look like a game that I'm going to enjoy. Now, I thought that about Veilguard. Veilguard surprised me, and I put about 29 hours into Veilguard, and now I'm done. I got sick of it. The combat got worse. The story was fine, but no. If I'm not going to put... I'm the only way I'm finishing Veilguard, I probably have to put another 10 or 15 hours into it, and I just can't. The combat's so annoying. Mid to late game. It's just poorly designed. And so, you know, Indiana Jones might surprise me on Friday, and I'm like, hey, y'all, this is actually pretty fun. And then I go the distance with it. I severely doubt that. I don't think that game is going... I don't think I'm going to enjoy it. And I'm certainly not going to buy it when it comes to PlayStation. I'll wait till it's officially out on Game Pass on the 9th. PoE 2 might consume me this weekend. Oh, no, that's right. I will have to buy it if I want to play it Friday for you guys. Yeah. I clicked the gear in the top right. Yeah, I can't get off of live chat on mobile anymore. It's super weird. The little gear. So you have like the scissor icon, and then right next to the scissors, you have the little like settings button, and then you can switch off a live chat. I'm sorry, to top chat. I can't do that anymore. Actually, I don't even think it puts me into top chat anymore now that I'm saying that. I think it just puts me into live chat, which is probably... No, it puts me into top messages. I can't get off of it. It's super weird. I'm really confused as to why that is not there for me sometimes. It did that for me on a YouTube premiere a while ago. It was like all of a sudden I couldn't switch off a top chat. I bet the PoE 2 servers will be down most of the weekend. I bet you're completely and utterly wrong. They're prepared for like 1 million instances, and they can spin up more if need be. I don't think the servers are going to be down for most of the weekend. I think they're prepared for a monsoon of players. I think they're better prepared, at least according to the interview I saw. I think they're better prepared than most games. Yeah. I don't think they're going to be down. They're going to be, obviously, I bet you that there's server problems and queuing problems because everybody can't get authenticated at the exact same time, so you'll probably be waiting in a queue for at least a little bit. But I don't think like the servers are going to be down. To be prepared for 1 million instances and then you have the ability to spin up more, I mean, I don't know. I don't think the servers will be down. I think you'll just probably end up having to wait in a queue. And usually a server queue has more to do with... It usually has more to do with the authentication. Like everybody's trying to get in at the exact same time and they can't authenticate everybody. And so the authentication servers are usually the ones that get overloaded. They've got enough, a lot of the times they'll have enough capacity for people to come and play, but it's like you have enough seating capacity in a stadium for 50,000 people, right? But you can't have all 50,000 people try to walk through the door at the same time. You know what I mean? It's going to be bricked. The only hope is it doesn't last 24 hours. I don't know. I don't think I've ever heard anybody before talk about how, yeah, we're ready for 1 million instances. I don't think I've ever heard anybody say that. I mean, even New World didn't even have enough for that. And that's Amazon. That's the company that owns AWS. And they weren't even ready for that. These guys are ready for more players than New World got when it hit its records. Have we discussed Elden Ring 2 or did I miss that? We've discussed it. Lone Wolf doesn't agree with me. I don't think you're ever going to get an Elden Ring 2. Miyazaki said that they're not currently developing it and they're not even discussing it. They're not even considering it. The Switch chat on mobile, it's 3 lines next to the scissors. You must not have been listening. That button is not on my phone, homie. I said that. It's just not there. All I have are scissors and an X. I look at the screenshot that Fuzzy's got. He's got the scissors, he's got the lines, and the X. I literally don't have that. I don't know why. It's super weird. It disappeared from my app a while ago, and every time I've updated it thinking it's going to come back, and it doesn't come back. They're not going to have 1 million concurrent? That's insane. Why is that insane? Why do you think that that's insane? New World got almost 1 million concurrent just on Steam alone. It wasn't on any other platforms at the time. New World. This game is at the top of the sales charts on Steam. It bumped Black Ops 6. It bumped Black Ops 6 from the #1 spot on Steam sales charts. It bumped Counter-Strike. Like 1 million concurrents? I don't think they're not gonna break a sweat. I think they're gonna hit 1 million concurrents because it's not just on Steam; it's on multiple platforms. This thing has absolutely exploded. Path of Exile 2 is not what it once was in the eyes of the public. It has hit a significant greater level of viewership and awareness, and you've got really, really big influencers that are driving some of that. That's what happened with New World. There was nothing special about New World. It was just the new MMO, and all the content creators were talking about it. It climbed the sales charts, and it hit 900,000 concurrent players. I don't think PoE 2 hitting 1 million concurrents is going to be that difficult at all. Eugene says, Bloodborne, Sekiro, no sequels, don't be surprised. Yeah, I think Elden Ring is going to be just like Bloodborne and Sekiro. I don't think you're getting a sequel. Deuterino says, I just want to be able to play. Yeah, I think you're doing wishful thinking, Deuterino. You're like hoping that doesn't happen because you want to play. I'm here to tell you. I was like 4 minutes behind. I hit double speed and caught up. Oh, you didn't know that I couldn't do the setting thing. I wondered why you said that, Wolf Saints. I was like, I literally said I don't have the button. Asmon playing something can bring in like $250,000. Yeah, just Asmongold talking about the game and playing the game alone can bring in about 200,000 people easy. No question. He can boost the numbers of a game by that much. It's not just him. You've got Darth microtransactions. You got him. You got all the other guys coming from Diablo. Homie, it's gonna be nuts. Like Path of Exile 2 is quite literally Godzilla under the water. Like, he's starting to crest out of the water. I think people are realizing, oh my gosh, this game is going to be monstrous. And I remember, I thought back when Diablo 4 was having their troubles, I was like, they're coming for Diablo. They came out swinging. They announced, Rax will be playing. All those guys are going to be playing. They have massive audiences. Yeah, when you've got that full court press of content creators covering and playing your game, 1 million concurrent players is nothing. That's nothing when you have that many people. It'll be insane. And the entrance cost is so low. It's like what, like $30? I mean, come on. I think New World was more. Wasn't New World like $40 or $50? I'm looking forward to trying out PoE. I'm not a huge ARPG fan, but it looks good. Yeah. The D4 players will migrate. Yeah, you got to think about all of the Diablo players that are like, yeah, I'll take a swing at that. That looks pretty fun. Diablo is a huge franchise. So you've got so many funnels of players setting their sights on Path of Exile 2. You have Path of Exile fans. That's a decent-sized group of people. You've got Diablo fans. You got people like me that are kind of like, I like Diablo. I played it a bunch, but now I've kind of fallen out with it, and I haven't been playing. So I'm like, yeah, that actually looks pretty good. Maybe I'll give it a shot. New World was $40. Okay, yeah. So New World was $40. Yeah, New World was $10 more. I don't know. You've got so many funnels of players. You got guys like Noberto, like what he just said. He's not even a huge ARPG fan. He's like, dude, I'm gonna take a crack at that. It looks fun. And if it's a little too intense, if it's a little too, deep waters for people because it's too complex, obviously you'll lose people. But I think they tried to rectify a lot of that. Diablo 4 player here. Yep, I'll be playing Path of Exile 2 as my main. Yo, it's good, Cyber Academy. Good morning, Lono. I enjoy Diablo, but I'm a casual. I just wear that, I embrace it freely. I just admit it. I'm like, yeah, I'm casual dad gamer now. I've gone through phases of my life where I played video games into the wee hours and drank Surge, and then I played one game pretty much only for like 5 years with little single player games here and there sprinkled in, and now I'm casual dad gamer. I've got a backlog that I'm working through. I booted up Kena Bridge of Spirits last night, and I was like, oh wow, what game looks incredible. I had to double check. I thought it was PS5 Pro Enhanced for a second. I was like, Jiminy Christmas, this is a gorgeous game, running like 4K 60, I think. I'll try Path of Exile 2, says JTag, but PoE 1 was a little complex for me. I would love to give it a try. I believe they have attempted to not have it be like that, right? I don't think they want it to be like PoE 1 with respect to how complex it was. It's still going to have complexity. They're not turning it into like an arcade game where you just like chase the green arrows. Like, don't get it twisted. I think that the complexity within PoE 2 is there for those that love it and want it. But for those of us that just want to kind of glide through and not do a lot of thinking, I'm hopeful that they've set it up to where I can do that. I think PoE 1 will be easier to understand, but it will be extremely complex. I think you meant to put a PoE 2. Wait, hang on. Bethesda has qualified. Either Bethesda panicked over the Switch backlash, or they just limited reviews, or it was just limited to the reviews. Indiana Jones and the Great Circle does not include de novo. It was only in review builds for leak precautions. Oh, that actually makes sense. Yeah, no, that actually makes sense for them to have it in there. I don't think they suddenly decided to rip it out. There's no de novo. Bethesda's never done that before. They've never had de novo in like Starfield and other games. That would be so bizarre to suddenly do it. I've seen stuff in PoE 2 that has made me go, huh? Here's the question about Path of Exile 2 gameplay, right? If you're I'm diving into PoE 2 gameplay this Friday, okay, Wheezy? Can I ignore all the complexity and be just fine? I know you want to hop on a call and like give me the lowdown in 30 minutes. I'm actually trying not to do that. I think it'll be a better experiment, and I want people to have a stream of like, here's casual dad gamer Dum Dum Lono trying out PoE 2. Because if I can figure it out, or I can kind of have a good time with it, I think that there's a lot of players that'll say, yeah, I'm diving in. I think there's a lot of people like me. I think there's a lot of people who play that way. I think through the campaign, yes. That at some level is all that matters to me. If my wife and I can play through the campaign and have a good time, I'm good with that. Because I believe the campaign is like 25 hours? That's great. I'm totally fine with that. It's pro enhanced as well. Yeah. I played the Icky Island DLC. You got it for $3 on premium upgrade. Ghost of Tsushima looks great. It does. It's a pretty game. It's not enhanced or anything, but it's a gorgeous game. That's the pre-registration for PoE 2 on the Chinese launcher 2 months ago. It's over 2 million now. I don't know what I'm looking at. It just looks like a website. You're saying it's over 2 million? Oh. Yeah, 1.9 people have made reservations on the website, and now Paul's saying it's over 2 million. PoE 2 is still going to have a pain wall for new players. It's only 3 acts, not the entire game, if I'm not mistaken. Oh, that's right. I keep forgetting. This is early access. Yeah. This is early access. So it's not going to be the full game. That's correct. Yeah. We may just play it long enough, to decide whether or not we like it, and then we could always wait for the full game to come out. I know the topic has passed, but if you want to understand XDefiant's development, you should check the Insider Gaming article about Ubisoft San Francisco and their toxic environment. Time erased. So do you think... I'm obviously not doing a deep dive and an autopsy on XDefiant, but so if I left aspects of its demise out of the picture, that wasn't intentional. But do you think that was a contributing factor, or do you think it was the driving factor, that there was a toxic work environment and that's why the game died? Because I don't think a toxic work environment affects your player funnel. They were losing players. They had a height of hype, and people were excited and talking about it, and then things settled down and player numbers went down. Juiceman93 with the $5 super chat says, little random, but you know where I can buy PS5 Pro plates online? Keep doing your thing, brother. Thank you very much. I appreciate that super chat. Guys, we always have a super chat goal. You can basically gift members through me. If we hit 10 super chats in a stream, I give 5. I also gift 5 every 50. And if you guys hit this weekly goal, we do a fun thing on Friday with Hilly. We'll stream with Hilly no matter what for members, but you can do that. You can also unlock a Friday night stream with Madam where we hang out with you guys, have drinks and some laughs. So be sure to re-up your memberships, gift some, or jump in as a brand new member. If you've never done a membership before on YouTube, it's how I do this full time. So be sure to click join. And if you do decide to do that, pick the $6 member plus, and you can get into all of the extra content. Yeah, you should be able to buy those plates on the PlayStation Store, Juice Man. You just go to PlayStation.com. And when you're there, I believe it's at the top. You just click PS5, and then it should have accessories for it. Or you just, I've got accessories right here. Well, that's probably, let's just go to the PS5. And I believe once you click on it, I think it's like one of the things on the main page of the PS5, is it not? If you just like scroll down. I might be thinking of a different landing page because I'm not seeing them. I'll just click buy now. And then I would imagine it would be on this page as an upsell. No, I don't see them. People also bought. Here we go. Yeah. They've got black one. Yeah, right here. It's on the PlayStation website. It wasn't exactly the easiest to get here. But yeah. And these are for the Slim. Now, are you trying... Oh, he wants Pro plates. Oh. I don't know if they have Pro plates yet. Do they? I don't think they do. What are they called? Console. My keyboard is so messed up. It like doubles backspaces, doubles letters. No, they just have PS5 console covers, and then they have the PS5 Slim console cover. Yeah, I'm not seeing any pros. Yeah. Sorry, I didn't read the super chat closely enough. Yeah. I was like, I'm pretty sure they have them. Yeah, they must. They don't have them out there yet. And what's interesting too is that the Pro splits just like the PlayStation 5 Slim, and yet it doesn't fit. It's super weird. They didn't line that up. COD is out now. People left to play that instead of XDefiant. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me at all, Team Ambush, if XDefiant's player Exodus was put into overdrive when Black Ops 6 came out, for sure. You know. And then anytime they do any kind of an update or a big push or boost to Warzone, you're always going to have to compete with that. You know. Not having the plates fit is, yeah, it doesn't make any sense too, Paul. They're so close in size, and the bottom plate fits. It's the top plate that doesn't. It's so weird. I don't get, not weird, it's called money. I don't think so. I don't think the number of plates they're moving at $44 is why they did that. I really and truly don't. That the number of people buying the Pros and the number of people who bought the Pros who already had the $44 plates who now have to buy another batch of $44 plates, I really don't think that they were like, oh yeah, we're going to make a ton of money off of this. That is such a drop in the bucket of where they make their money. That's not it. It literally was the top clip that stops the Pro plates from fitting. Yeah, it's very bizarre. It seems like it was an oversight, not something that they were like, we're going to make a ton of money off getting people to buy plates a second time. You say they're the Apple of gaming. Apple changes the size of their phone by 2 millimeters. Oh, they definitely are posturing like Apple. I don't think this is one of those times. Like, the vertical stand thing and all of that, like, I think that's them posturing like Apple. I don't think this is. I think this was like an oversight. It was like, hey, what the frick you got? And it was too late. It makes no sense. It doesn't make them more money. I really doubt people who bought a Slim and a Pro is small compared to those who had the original and would want more plates. Yeah, like, the Slim hasn't even been out that long. The vast majority of the people who own a base PS5 is larger than those who own the Slim, and then they probably make up a larger portion of the people who bought the PS5 Pro. And then on top of that, then you have to say the number of people who bought plates, had the Slim, and then also bought a Pro. I don't think that's a large enough number that they're like, oh yeah, dude, we're doing this to make a ton of money. This move is losing them money, not making them money. How do you figure it's losing them money? Do you think people are opting to not buy plates because of it? They're like, yeah, I was going to buy plates, but not now. That's all. I mean, is that what you're saying? It's so weird when I have to approve comments on YouTube and they didn't even say anything that warrants it. It's so bizarre. I wonder if it's the usernames that trigger it sometimes. Like, I'll have to approve comments sometimes. I'm like, the guy literally just said, oh, I think it's going to be a remaster. Like, that's all he said. It's like, what the heck? They have all these plates that they've made and none of them work. Well, I don't think they're going to lose money on that. Literally can't buy plates for it. Right, so they're leaving money on the table in that regard, sure, Eugene. But the plates that they've made are still going to... I think they're still going to sell. Because you're still going to have a ton of PlayStation 5 Slims selling. I mean, they're not going to just... Everybody's switching to the Pro. So I still think they're going to sell the plates. All right, Xbox, these are the kind of attribute-based promotion vehicles I can get behind. I didn't know Spirit Fair was a big soup game. More soup game, let's do it. And now it says, we demand you see our legs. Matt Piscatella says, all right, Xbox, who's coming up with these? I think we need to be friends. I have questions. Literally games that let you see your character's legs. Yeah, we demand you see our legs. That's weird. That's a weird one. I've been eyeing a 30th anniversary skin replica to get for my Pro. Oh, right, so you can make it look like the 30th anniversaries. They'd be selling plates they've already made if they fit. Right, yeah, and that's better for your margins to be like, we've already got the stock. We don't have to make anything new. So, first good soup games, now we demand you see our legs. Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on over there. Xbox is doing some weird stuff with their game categories. Guys, if you're just tuning in, man, take a quick second and smash that like button. If you've been listening this morning, we've been going for about an hour. And let's try to get 300 likes. Appreciate you guys supporting the channel every day by listening, lurking, liking. And then consider all the other ways you can support directly as well. 1.5 million players day one, 15 million by the end of its life cycle. You're probably going to say, well, it's free, like you, every free-to-play gets a million day one. Define very good launch. I don't remember it being a very good launch for XDefiant. Oh, you guys are talking about XDefiant. Yeah, I mean, again, let me see what you're saying here. Let me track some of your messaging. Don't forget XDefiant had a very good launch, and that's not guaranteed even for a free-to-play game. Yes. Yeah, there's a Pac-Man show coming to Secret Level. How does one contradict the other? The numbers are the numbers. People don't play something they don't like or hear it's very bad but free. They try it. It's kind of like people saying the PS5 Pro is a scam. Like Sony wants very few people to afford it so they don't sell it. It makes zero sense. I don't think people disliking COD is a thing. I think people complain about COD more. Yeah, I'm not quite sure what your point is. But I don't necessarily think that XDefiant's failures can be attributed to one thing. People just put failed multiplayer games in the same basket of it was bad and call it a day instead of seeing the difference. XDefiant ain't a Concord. It had a chance for a few weeks. I don't know if anybody's just saying that it was bad, though. Paul says 1.5 million of those players are all just disgruntled COD players looking for a new home. Well, that's reductionistic. I mean, I don't think that they were all that. I think a good portion of the people playing XDefiant certainly came from Call of Duty, and the new car smell and the fresh paint job was helping. And I told people that. I had people telling me, they're like, oh no, XDefiant's got a lot of players, Lono, and people seem to really like it. And I always say the same thing. I'm like, yeah, of course they do. And then the new car smell is going to wear off. And the veneer will chip, And people will start to have complaints, or they'll start to have bad games, or they'll start to get bored, and then the player numbers will go back down again. I don't think that it's not a matter of the game being bad. It's not. I think it is a part of the identity of games like that. I do. I think it's part of the identity of a game like that where it is almost automatically going to go through a life cycle of honeymoon phase to fallout. You have to decide, or you have to try to make the honeymoon phase last long enough that it starts to overlap with just normal engagement with the game to stay the tide of Exodus. I think that's just the cycle that these games go through. I think that Fortnite knows it. I think Warzone knows it. I think Apex knows it. They all know it. They're always all trying to do this sort of like reinvent themselves crap where they change everything or do a double XP weekend. I love what the guy said about Path of Exile 2. They don't do that. Catwalk with the VIP. Thank you very much. The member count has been a little slow today. That's okay. We're about halfway through the week. You guys are going to want to get that to stay on the course, to stay on pace. We should hit 300 by the end of the day. Thank you, Catwalk, for helping. But I think that whenever you have a game like this, you're always going to have that as part of the identity. When the guy was talking about Path of Exile 2, and he was like, we don't do those double XP weekends. And he basically said that like that becomes the reason that people play or don't play. Well, I'll just wait for them to do a double XP weekend. It's like, no, you want people playing the game because it's good and because it's fun. And so if you're always doing those double XP weekends, that's basically like artificially shifting player behavior to center around that. Patrick Q with a gifted member. Thank you so much, Patrick Q. And takes us to 217. And a VIP from Tyler Johnson takes us to 218. Thank you, Tyler. 40 months of memberships. That's a long time. Have you seen the hand tracking on the PSVR 2 shown off? No, I saw that it was coming though. I saw it was in my Twitter feed. That's cool. It doesn't matter if we don't get big first party PSVR 2 titles. I tend to not care. It's like they didn't treat the PSVR 2 with a lot of respect. I've been a little frustrated with PlayStation. They let a bunch of slop come over. I bought 3 games in a row that were ported from PC VR to PSVR 2, and they were crap, and they didn't run well. After the 3rd game, I said, F this. I haven't turned on the PSVR 2 since. PlayStation, if PlayStation's not going to treat it with respect, I'm not going to waste money buying games anymore. They need their own first-party push, and they need better quality control. It was like the 3rd game in a row. I was like, what in the world are y'all doing? And it was the 3rd game in a row that I bought. It was like the 5th game in a row that came over and was bad. There were 2 that I completely avoided because all the reviews said that they were bad. Colin with 39 months, thank you very much. Bumps the line to 219. I don't buy PSVR 2 games on release. I always wait a few months. Yeah, and that's just such a terrible... the fact that you have to do that as a consumer that's just an embarrassment. It's like that they should have more respect for the PSVR 2. There should be better quality checks for the games that get ported over. It's the same thing with the PS5 Pro Enhanced label. You're letting people push out patches that make the games run worse, you know. And I went and checked. There are 77 PS5 Pro Enhanced games. And we have 4 games that pushed out patches that are causing trouble. One of them has already been fixed. So, and people, I literally saw a guy tweeting and he was like, man, I would really hold off and wait until next year for the Pro, you know, and he was basing it off of a game that had a bad patch. So he's making it seem like the Pro is bad and not ready and that you should wait. And I'm like, you're not even diagnosing the problem. It's like It's like one road in downtown is closed for construction, and you're like, yeah, I would wait. I would wait a couple months before going downtown and trying to go get a burger because there's one road closed down. It's like, what the frick? It's like, so 4 games out of 77 have pushed out bad patches. And you're like, yeah, I would wait to get a pro. It has nothing to do with the pro. People are starving for a negative narrative. They will grab table scraps and try to turn it into a meal and try to turn it into a feast. Like, 4 games that will likely be fixed, I would think, relatively quickly, given the feedback that they're getting. Like, Silent Hill 2 fixed its things pretty quickly. It was like a week, wasn't it? Valve is preparing to release Steam OS to the public. Does this support the potential Xbox handheld hybrid theory? An Xbox handheld that could have Steam? Maybe. I don't know if Xbox would want to launch something with Steam OS, though. They have their own operating system. Yeah, I see people being like, yeah, my Pro really disappointed me. It's just not been that great. And I'm like, I don't know what games you're playing. Unless you, again, I mean, I can understand somebody being frustrated, and this is why PlayStation needs to try to fix it. I could understand somebody being frustrated if, like, the one game they were wanting to play on their Pro is one of the 4 games that basically hurt themselves. Quantum Error is getting a PS5 Pro patch. Those devs are a joke. I think that killed a lot of the player base, even if hardcores will say it was everything else. Did you reach the level where they turn off skill-based matchmaking? I thought they never had skill-based matchmaking on in XDefiant. Wasn't that one of the draws to the game? If you have the money, you should definitely buy a PS5 Pro. It's a massive upgrade. Playing Stellar Blade and Horizon Forbidden West at 80 FPS consistently is pretty awesome. Yeah, again, I booted up Stellar Blade, I booted up Horizon Forbidden West, even Space Marine 2 runs better, and its patch comes out in, like 8 days for PS5 Pro Enhanced. So it's not even enhanced yet. But it's like, if you play just a handful of the games that have been enhanced and you're like, yeah, this thing's been pretty disappointing, I would wait. I'm like, I don't know what you were expecting. I really don't. And I totally am in agreement with whoever has said, I got a Pro, I went to play this game and the patch broke it, and you're disappointed and you're frustrated, you have every right to feel that. But to act like that's indicative of the Pro or it's a reason to wait, I just think is a terrible diagnosis of the problem. It is so obviously the developers and not the device. It's like, and I know it was always like, oh, blame the devs, blame the devs. Like the Xbox guys were always blaming the devs when it came to the Series S. This is not the same. This is literally developers pushing out patches that are making the game run worse. That's easily laid at the developer's feet. It is like, well, yeah, that's on the devs. Like, they're the ones doing it. It's not an indictment of the device. There's not a pattern developing of the Pro causing problems. There's a pattern developing of rushed patches causing problems. Like, if you can't do pattern deduction or pattern detection here, you're just going to think that, like, oh, yeah, it's the device. What is this? No, don't text me. I supported an organization and now I'm getting texts and emails. They're like, we need your support again. It's like, gee, many Christmas. That's a really great way to motivate me to not do it ever again. Do you know what I mean? Like, I did it. I'll do it again, maybe. The firefighters always get me. They get me every time they do a drive. If I pick up, they get me. It's always some sweet little old lady or some old man, and they get me every time. They're smart. They know. Oh. Every time the firefighters get me, I'm like, all right, yeah. Send the invoice over. I'll do it again. They got me once, and now they get me every time. Ala Park with 28 months. If Nintendo doesn't call the new Switch the Super Switch, that's something I'll be disappointed about. Thank you for the VIP. We are 5 away from 225. Thank you so much for doing that. The first PoE was very basic for hours. A bit of a snooze fest, in my opinion. Yeah, I mean, I've never played it. I'm gonna try to go into PoE 2 about as blind as I can. Yeah. If someone doesn't have a VRR 120 hertz TV and maybe an OLED, you ain't getting half of what the Pro offers, though. I think a lot of people disappointed have bad TVs. You know, I honestly don't think that's a bad theory. You know, we've talked about this before where we've had people say, I remember watching trailers for Horizon Forbidden West, and people were like, it doesn't look any better than Horizon Zero Dawn. I remember watching trailers for God of War Ragnarok, and people were like, it doesn't look any better than God of War 2018, which led to the infamous clip of me showing God of War Ragnarok looking better and having more detail than God of War on PC at ultra settings. And that clip on TikTok has like almost 8 million views because people are like, of course it looks better, idiot. And it's like, you don't understand. I was arguing with idiots. Like, I quite literally was showing that Ragnarok looked better. I was looking, it was like, it looks better. Like, no, it doesn't. It doesn't look any better. And it was like, we did side-by-side comparisons. I was like, Ragnarok looks better than God of War 2018 on a PC at ultra settings. And people were like, no, it doesn't. So now there's a clip out there, and I look like an idiot because I was arguing with idiots. And like, that's the lesson, is it not? If you have a $1,500 TV, why are you buying a $700 console? Or a solid monitor? Oh, I'm sorry. If you don't have a $1,500 TV, why are you buying a $700 console? Right, like if you went to Walmart or Target and you bought the cheapest thing they had and it's either missing features or it's older or, you know, I don't know, maybe its refresh rate's lower or something or the quality's not that great. I mean, also, remember, HDMI cables can affect things as well. I got my wife a television from Costco. It's a Hisense. It's a great TV, and the HDMI cable that it came with is junk. I had my PS5 hooked up to it, and I was like, she had Returnal on hers, I had Returnal on mine. And I was like, man, I knew you guys got me a nice TV, but I didn't know it was like this much better than the average TV. And then I realized that there were settings I couldn't even fiddle with. There were settings on the TV that I was supposed to be able to engage with, and I couldn't engage with the settings. They were grayed out. And somebody was like, well, switch the HDMI cable. I switched the HDMI cable to one of the cables that I own, and all of a sudden, all those settings became available, and the picture quality improved tenfold. So that's another thing I wonder if people do, is if they have things hooked up. If they have things hooked up with either a bad cable, an old cable, or it's an older TV, or the TV's not set up right, or the settings aren't right, or any of that, and it's like, yeah, it doesn't look any better. Looks the same. Looks like crap. Looks bad. Or, you know, they're watching YouTube trailers on their TV, and they're probably thinking the same thing. Like, I couldn't believe some of the conversations we had back then. It literally blew my mind. I was like, are you seeing this? They were drunk off Jaffe, calling the game DLC. Oh, I remember that. That was before Jaffe and I had ever interacted, you know? No, he's stepped in it. He's getting plenty of he's getting plenty of attention now for something else. Oh man. Also, can we talk about TV prices? They're like the only thing that has given us better quality for cheaper or the same price all these years later. Yeah, I just think that the peripherals and the parts just keep lowering in price, and so they're able to keep the production costs of TVs down. I'm not even tuned into that world, and I'm pretty sure that's why it keeps happening. He's quadrupling down. Yeah. Going after Asmon and Hypnotic. He put Asmon on the thumbnail, and Asmon wasn't even in the video. Zach was like, I'm not in this. He got to a certain part in the video and he just stopped it. He's like, this isn't about me. It was perfect. He's like, yeah, he's just on the thumbnail. Oh gosh. What are you this time? He said something he shouldn't have said. You know, I like him. I'm not gonna like cancel him or anything or block him, but you know, he just made something personal and about somebody's, you know, looks and gender, and it's just not good to do that. Oh. I get a kick out of him. He always says, and that's fine. It's fine to neutralize whatever he says. I don't know if he's trying to neutralize. I think what he's trying to do is he's trying to say, look, you know, I kind of do that. I just make space for people to be different. I'm like, if you want to do that, that's fine. Higher end TV prices aren't cheaper, says Eugene. You're seeing top of the line 3 or 4 years ago becoming affordable. It's the same thing TVs have always done. You're a jerk, Lono, but that's fine. It's fine. Right. He's like, you're a jerk, and that's fine. It's fine. If you want to be a jerk, be a jerk. TV manufacturers need you to change TV often to make bucks. Console makers don't need you to buy another console. They make money on the games that you buy. For sure. Yeah, for sure. It's very, very different. I do think, though, time erased, I do think that a lot of people don't have their TVs set up right, or like with what happened to me. Like, everybody was like, oh, you should know not to use the HDMI cable that came with the TV. And I was like, well, now hang on a second. I was like, track with me here. I get it, but at the same time, I don't. Why would you want somebody to buy the TV from the store, get it home, and plug in a cable that makes it look worse than it did at the store? Don't you think that's going to lead to the person thinking that there's something wrong with the TV and maybe returning it? Or are they just banking on, you know, people are stupid and don't notice? I was ready to return it. I was like, I don't know. I was like, I think something's wrong. Yo, Quintar, thanks for renewing your member plus. You the best. 221. Excuse me. You know what I mean? Like, I know it's cheaper, but you know what's even cheaper, Murph? Is not putting a cable in there at all. I get why they do it, but I also don't get it. And a 20 bomb from Quintar. Oh, the member train was a little slow, but he's going to stoke the fires, and he gets us 9 away from 250. Every 50, I give 5. I've had to back off a little bit on gifting, but I'm still gifting. Every 50 members, I'll give 5 and add to the total. So thank you, Quintar. He gets us within 9 of 250. I appreciate that very much. If you guys got a gifted member from Quintar, be sure to say thank you. And guys, take a quick second and smash that like button. Yeah, YouTube is still acting really squirrely. It's going so slow with these gifteds. Good golly. $2 super chat from Juice Man. Buying a gaming monitor fixes a lot for cheaper. Well, I don't agree, and I don't disagree. I'm kind of neutral on what you're saying because it's subjective. Buying a monitor for my entertainment room, it would be terrible. It would be so far away. It would be awful. You wouldn't want to do that. Now, for in here, sure. But I don't even like gaming in here. I'll game with you guys. That's different. But I don't like to come in here off business hours and boot up a video game. I can't stand it. I want to be on my couch. You know? And I can't put a monitor in my entertainment room. Why aren't you using the PS5's cable? It's in the box. Well, you got to remember my situation. I've got HDMI cables in here, capture cards in here. I've got my main TV. It had HDMI cables run to it, and this is a brand new TV. So all of my cables were pretty much used up, and I was like, oh, cool, it came with a cable. I'll just use this one. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't like I didn't like unplug the PS5's HDMI cable and replace it with this like a dum-dum. It was like my cable was probably in the office or something like that. So when I bring a PlayStation 5 into my office to hook it up, there's already cables in here for it. So I was like, yeah, here we go. The cable in the box doesn't fit all needs. I don't use the PS5 cable. I need a 10-foot cable that's certified for in-wall use. Yeah, there's that reason too. Sometimes you need a longer cable. The only thing you're going to hate with an OLED is that you will see the frame drops way better. You know what's funny is when they got me the new TV and I hooked it up, the first game I booted up was Ghost of Tsushima, and I could see dynamic res happening when I was riding on the horse, and I had never seen it before. Because I was usually on a monitor, and it's smaller and it's harder to see because it's more noticeable like on the edges, like in the grass and the foliage. Well, when I'm on a giant TV in my living room that looks amazing, it was really easy to see dynamic res happening. I had to just like adjust. It was like I could notice it, and I just eventually tuned it out. Is there like a specific brand of HDMI cables that people get? I don't know if it's the brand, it's the number. Right now, what do we want? It's 2.1, right? You want like you want 2.1, and then like what Eugene's saying, like if you're putting in a wall, he said it was certified for in-wall use. I don't know what that means. Do we think TVs and consoles will finally adapt the DisplayPort? Oh, to DisplayPort. It's far superior to HDMI. Convince me it's not. Oh, is somebody disagreeing with you? I don't know. .1, thanks to 2.1. Yeah, I think right now if you get HDMI cables, you want to be 2.1. Yeah. For audio, that makes sense, but for video, I'm not convinced. It's the certification, says Omar. Brand is meaningless. Yeah, because I mean, I'm sure you could buy like Amazon branded cables that'll do just fine, as long as it's the right stuff. I bought $40 10-foot 24K gold-plated HDMI 2.1 cable. I got back just in time to discuss cables. Hot. Zubair's like rubbing his hands together, cracking his knuckles. He's like, oh yeah, my time to shine. My monitor is 32-inch 4K 60 1440 120 LED HDMI 2.0, but I sit at a desk when playing. I haven't hooked the Pro up to my 52-inch Samsung in the living room yet. Oh, you got to. You've got to, dude. Holy crap. Like, I know Kena Bridge of Spirits isn't even PS5 Pro enhanced, but dude, certain games man, they just look good. Let's talk about shielding, boys. DisplayPort's not superior because its adoption is poor for TVs. It's like going back and saying Betamax was superior, says AOZ. Cables send digital signals now. It's not like it was when it was composite cables. It's the bit rate being sent that matters and the certification. You have to have an HDMI 2.1 or you're not getting everything out of the console. Does it say it on the cable? I should probably check all my cables. I have so many HDMI cables, it wouldn't shock me at all if I'm using some that aren't 2.1. Because I've been doing this for so long and you always amass a bunch of cables. It wouldn't surprise me at all if I'm grabbing cables from like a pile or like a drawer that are older. Like, does it say it somewhere on the cable like that writing on the side? How to identify an ultra high speed HDMI cable? It'll say it, ultra high speed. It'll be printed on the cable jacket. It'll have a logo printed on it. Yeah, I don't even know. I'll have to check all my cables to see if it's even on the side. I think some of them have nothing written on them. It's funny you're a casual gamer yet you talk about games all day. Yeah, I mean, but don't you know people that are like casual sports fans that talk about sports all day? Like, you have people that have like season tickets and they watch every game, and then you have people that only watch 1 or 2 games a week, and yet they both talk about them equally, right? The engagement, sometimes it's about schedule. Like, my schedule doesn't allow me. I would sit here and play all day if I could, but my brand isn't built around that. Oh, thanks for doing a member plus, Nick. Welcome back in. You see what I'm saying, Nick? Like, somebody asked me yesterday, which you guys, let me clear out the question queue. You guys can always submit questions and I'll pop them up on the screen. That's a member perk. Somebody asked me yesterday, they're like, if you could play a game, what would you play? And I was like, honestly, it wouldn't be a particular game. It would be, I wish I could do Let's Plays on this channel. It would be fun. I would enjoy it. I would get to play games, complete games, experience the games with you guys. And then we'd have really great, Let's Plays to put into a playlist on the channel. But it murders viewership. Nobody subscribes to this channel for that. A very small percentage of you would stick around. So yeah, it's basically I'm a radio host about games. And I would play more on stream if I could, if it wasn't so murderous to numbers. If they let us share our members across channels, I would just turn one of my other channels into a Let's Play channel and we would just redirect and go over there. But every time we did that in the past, everybody gets confused because you're suddenly in a chat room and you don't have your badge and you don't have your emotes. So Tremolo's asking, separate gameplay channel. We used to do that and it just confuses people. They're like, why don't I have a badge over here? Now, when we covered Destiny and we came over here and we did it, people didn't mind as much because it made sense to them, and they would just double dip. They would just get a membership on both channels. So, I love that you nerds are debating DisplayPort versus HDMI. You're both wrong. Leaving VGA was a mistake. Less people chat when Lono starts playing games. Well, and I would be 100% accepting of that. Like, if there was a channel and the identity of the channel was gameplay only, it would do well. This channel was doing well. This channel got to 5,000 subscribers, and that's all we did. We would just come over and we would just play games. But if I can't share memberships across channels. If I could share memberships across channels, it would really open up a lot of opportunities for us. It would. It's an interesting way to look at it. For me, you wouldn't be considered a casual due to how knowledgeable you are on the gaming industry and the wide variety of games that you play. I think it's more of a mindset. Like, I'm casual dad gamer. It's like, I need to be able to play a game in 1 to 2 hour sittings. I don't want it to be a super demanding game. I don't want to put 100 hours into a game. I don't want a new part-time job like Destiny was. I don't really get down with, a game like Lies of P, where I'm going to sit down every night for an hour and not win. Right? Like, spending a week losing to the swamp monster and finally beating him, it just doesn't appeal to me. Do you think shared memberships is something YouTube would ever get behind? There's a lot of things that they should get behind, but they don't. I asked my partner manager about, like, why can't I spin up a channel and have it instantly monetized? And he was like, that's just something that they've never done. He's like, if you get monetized, he's like, I can have them turn it on faster. He's like, but you still have to hit the thresholds. So it's like all he can do for me is make it happen faster than, like, oh, you don't got to wait for 72 hours. I'll go in and turn it on, but I still have to hit the thresholds. So it's like, because I asked him, I was like, that just seems so stupid. We spun up a Lego channel and it just went nowhere because it's not monetized. If it was monetized, it would do better. So And it's not even close to being monetized. It was fun. I started making videos with the kids, and it just didn't go anywhere. So, sadly, we have no other monetized channels now. We probably should have turned one of those monetized channels into a Lego channel, but we had changed those channels so many times, it hurts them. Like, they eventually just become immovable objects because they've changed identities too many times. So, Dad casual, that's why I don't play games like Souls. It's funny too because I like them. Like, I want to play Sekiro again. I would love to do another playthrough of Sekiro. I would love to play through Ghost of Tsushima on Lethal. But the problem with that is I know what's going to happen. I'm going to get stuck. I'm going to reach one of those points where you just kind of have to get into a flow state. Like, there's always those bosses, there's always those sections of those games where you just kind of get stuck. And that's when I check out. It's like, that's not what I want to do. I've got an hour or two of my evening. I want to relax and have a good time, and that's not relaxing to me. Getting stuck in a fight, it just isn't. As soon as I died, 4 or 5 times in a row at the same point in the swamp monster fight, I just mentally check out. I'm like, yeah, I'm not enjoying this anymore. They probably aren't incentivized to do shared memberships, as that might make them lose money. Maybe. I remember the Brick Abbey. Yeah. It's still sitting over there. It obviously doesn't get any content. It doesn't get any traction. We couldn't even get it to 1,000 subscribers. Which makes sense. Most of the people subscribed here are looking for gaming content. Right now it averages like 50 views in a month because it's just sitting over there. Yeah. In the last 365 days, it only has 58 public watch hours. Yeah. It's a bummer. It was fun. You guys really helped. You guys helped kind of get it going. It got 48 videos. And it started out strong. It really, really did. It started out really strong. And then all of a sudden, everything we put up over there died. We were really impressed with how well the channel was doing in the beginning stages. And then it just died. And it's just one of those things where, like, the people that were helping us build it, I think, helped. But then I think people just lose interest because it's like, well, if that's not the primary thing you come to YouTube for. Like Ceasefire, it's an acquired taste. Yeah. I still would love to do a weekly show with him where it's just more casual, just discussing whatever the heck we want. I think we would need to rename it too. I don't think that name would work anymore. Lego and gaming are like the two best hobbies, right? Both HDMI and DP are going to end up replaced by some Thunderbolt-like direct PCI connector. It's inevitable. Hey, Lono, my watch hours of your content is private. Some of you guys had really, really high watch hours of the content. You guys were posting some of your wrap-ups. I think that's what that was called, right? The YouTube thing. Take a quick second, guys. Smash the like button. And what are we looking at here? It's, yeah. Love Andrew and his band. Yeah, getting to hang out with him for their concert in Nashville was really, really fun. The TV companies own HDMI and the tech. It's never going away. Okay. Well, we've been going for 2 hours. I'm going to take a break and run some ads, and then we're going to come back. I don't know what we'll do. We're off the rails, and we're out of gas. Like, there's just not much going on in gaming news. Everybody's gone really, really quiet. This happens sometimes because the Game Awards is next week. So, yeah, I'll be right back. I didn't take my restroom break in between morning coffee and the live show because I was fiddling with the camera. So I'm sitting here kind of dying. I'm like, oh my gosh. So instead of just going to writer's room and taking my break, I'll just take it now. We'll keep going. We've been trying to make these streams a little bit longer. I don't know if we're going to be able to do that today because we're kind of out of gas. I think we're out of topics. So I'm going to hit some ads and I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. I never see ads when he leaves. It won't always give everybody an ad. It's random. I think that's why they want us to turn on the automatic ad placement, because I think they'll give you an ad for you at a particular time. And I don't turn that on because it's super disruptive. It'll just like interrupt me, and you won't even know. You'll be like, what the heck just happened? Why am I getting an ad? So I never turn that on. So, anyone tried Dark Tide? It looks like they've done a good job with it. Somebody was saying they were playing earlier, and they said it looked amazing. So, yeah. You got ads for your region? Yeah, it's region dependent. It's age demographic dependent. Like, it's just, there's so many things that that lead to it. All right, I'm going to set up redirect. We're bouncing. I don't know what YouTube's doing, but it's been really rough. I don't like streaming when it's like this. It's frustrating. Stuff wasn't working earlier, and it hurt us, and now we're fully off the rails. So we're better off in a writer's room. There's a link in chat. Thanks so much for being a member, and you may have gotten this in your feed randomly, and you're like, what is this? Maybe you got a gifted member. If you watch my channel enough to get a gifted member, thank you so much for that. If you're paying for your own membership, thank you for that. We're continuing to ask folks, hey man, bump up to Member Plus. It's $6 instead of $5, so it's $1 more, but you get into more content, and it supports me directly. I'm going to end the previous stream and bring folks over with redirect, and then I'm going to change that thumbnail because we are no longer live.